So for this recipe, we're going to use some honey, and we're making ricotta cheesecake. So this is something that I grew up on. My grandmother made it. She's from a town near Napoli, and I think everyone in, I don't know if it's in Italy, but everyone in the south of Italy has their own version. And everyone's version is the best. So
I'm sure your grandma's is the best.
yes, don't bother arguing. This, she'd kill me, but I made a few modifications to it. But it's a really nice alternative to cheesecake. I actually never had the traditional cheesecake until I was much older. This is what I grew up on. And it's not as sweet. It has a really nice texture to it, really nice flavor. And we're going to do a little twist. We're going to add some nice strawberries on top. So what I'm starting with is some ricotta cheese. This is 2 cups. You can use, depending on what your needs are, if you want to go for a fuller fat one, definitely use a full fat one, or you can use a low fat version as well.
Absolutely. Either way, ricotta is rich in protein. You're also going to be getting some calcium in your recipe. So this isn't just like eating a donut and getting some calories and some fat. You're getting lots of nutrition in this dessert.
Absolutely. And we're adding 2 eggs to this. And we're just going to mix that up. And I'm going to add a little bit of yogurt too. And I think this is where my grandmother would probably get a little mad. But it works. And what I like about the yogurt is it adds a really nice creaminess to it. Yogurt also has that kind of tang, that sourness that I find works really, really well in something like this, especially to balance some of that sweetness. I'm not using much, just 1/3 of a cup. And if you go for like a Greek yogurt, you're increasing that protein even more, which is great. Oh, it gets messy, but you
waiting for you to get your hands in there.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. The whisk will work just fine. If you wanted it super, super, super creamy, kind of like your traditional cheesecake, you can blend or stick the ricotta cheese in a food processor ahead of time and blend it through. I kind of like the rusticness of it. So you shouldn't have to do that. And you're just gonna get a whisk, go through it, combine. We're gonna add our honey, so this is 1/3 of a cup. You can add maple syrup if you want here.
A nice thing about this recipe is you're incorporating protein into it and fiber. So that means that the sugar that you're getting from the honey or whatever you choose to use isn't going to raise your blood sugar as high. So it's going to be digested more slowly because protein, fat, as well as fiber kind of slow things down for you.
And so just to finish it off, added 2 other flavor kickers. So a little bit of vanilla extract, and like we mentioned before, we love the zest, a little bit of lemon zest. And what's great about this is you really don't need to add that extra sugar. These help to kick up that flavor, especially the zest. This is the one that you smell across the hall and when it's baking. It really, really helps to pick everything else up. And that's it. So combine. And then the last ingredient we're adding, so this is actually a gluten-free cake, which is really nice as well. A little bit of ground almonds. This is going to just help bind everything together. It's going to get some nice texture.
Give you a little bit of that fiber, healthy fat, and protein. So again, they're all going to help balance things out for you.
And that's it. So finish that final mix. And this is going to go into a spring pan. I don't have a crust. There's no crust for this, or so it helps to grease your pan ahead of time. So this is just regular spring pan. You use a little bit of grapeseed oil, or if you want a little bit of butter, just to grease the inside. And then what I do is reserve about a tablespoon of that ground almonds.
Get a crunchy bottom.
And you could put a little bit more in, but as you kind of turn it around, it'll stick and it'll adhere to the sides. And it just makes it easier for the cake to release. It also gives it a nice kind of crunchy almond exterior, so it works 2 ways. And that's going to go in. And you'll see when you bake it, so this is going to the oven, about 350 for about 40 minutes. You get a nice golden brown on the outside, and it'll rise in the oven. As it rises, you'll see it start to bubble up. When you take it out and let it cool, it'll sink back down. So don't think that it's failed or anything. It's supposed to do that. Now this is, if you wanted to make, it comes out like a thin cake, almost like a tart. If you wanted to make it a little bit thicker, like your traditional cheesecake, you could just double the recipe. That'll work fine. So, perfect. Even it off. Try to make it pretty. And that's going to go in the oven 40-45 minutes. Take it out, let it cool. And it's important to let it cool. If you can refrigerate it even for an hour, it really helps to let it set. And I just put some saran wrap on top. But this is what it looks like. You get this really nice golden brown on the outside. It's ricotta cheese. It's going to caramelize a little bit. That's part of it. Hopefully this doesn't stick. I should have probably pried it before. Okay, so if it doesn't come off.
Serve the spring pan at the table. It's rustic.
There we go. All right.
Yay!
So you can see how you got this really nice caramelization on the outside. You can put that on a plate. And then to top it, what we've done is macerated strawberries.
What does macerated
What is
mean?
macerated? Sounds very aggressive.
It does.
So
I feel badly for these strawberries.
we're not beating the strawberries or munching the strawberries. The idea is that we're going to create a sort of syrup or sort of juice by extracting the natural juices out of the strawberry. And you do this by adding something like, you can add a little bit of salt. A little bit of salt will work, but it probably wouldn't taste that good. Or you can use a little bit of, we use cane sugar, just organic cane sugar, and you don't need much on top of the strawberries, chopped up strawberries. We also add a little bit of balsamic vinegar.
Ooh.
Sounds odd, but it works, again, really well, and you're bringing a little bit of that sweet and sour kind of flavor going on. The idea is that you want to let it sit for at least an hour. If you can do it overnight, it's even better, but it softens the strawberries up, and it gives you this really nice, we call it a liquor, but it's like a strawberry juice on the outside. And I added, other than a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, there's no other liquid. So this is all just natural from that strawberry.
Strawberry essence.
Yes.
So again, we're boosting the sweetness, just using, the natural sugars that are in fruit, getting a punch of antioxidants from our berries as well. You're going to get some anthocyanins, which are a powerful antioxidant that may help to prevent inflammation, especially in the heart. So heart healthy.
And that's it.